The world is in chaos. Gangsters are looting and pillaging jewelry stores. The police are powerless and terrified and cover their ears in fear. Only you with your imitation Nissan Skyline can defeat them in Virtua Cop 2, the sequel to Virtua Cop 1.
Virtua Cop 2. Big Chase. Let's go.
The gameplay is the same, the music is delightfully cheesy, and Virtua Cop 2 is very similar in most respects to Virtua Cop 1. It is much more challenging. It feels like you get a slightly larger game here in Virtua Cop 2, although as I mentioned in my first Virtua Cop review, I found both games, 1 and 2, with the Sega Saturn Stunner light gun. On sale for $10. They're very easy to find, and you should just buy them both. Just make sure you have that light gun. There's no time to waste with procedures or questioning bad guys, you just shoot them. Well, you don't really shoot them per se, it's more like you incinerate them with your light gun, sending them blinking into the Virtua afterlife. This is a shooter on rails, so the game guides you along a predetermined path. Each time you play the game, the bad guys appear in the exact same spot that they were last time you played the game. Therefore, you have to be good at both shooting bad guys and also memorizing where they're going to be. It's a lot of fun. This makes a terrific arcade title, and it's very similar to the first one in that respect. It starts off very easy, gets much more challenging, and if you were playing this game in the arcade with quarters, you'd be shoveling quarters into this thing left and right to continue going. How else could you memorize the levels and become better at Virtua Cop 2? Here in the Sega Saturn version, you have a number of credits that you can just use to continue. This game is worth having in your Sega Saturn collection. It's a lot of fun to play, very affordable, and they just don't make many games like this anymore. Did you happen to notice that I'm chasing a Virtua coffee van? That's Virtua awesome. Oh, come on! Why am I getting penalized because that jackass drove into my Virtua bullets? Son of a bitch owes me a life point. The tremendous force of the Virtua explosion blew the wheels clean off of the cop cars. Graphically, this game is definitely dated somewhat, but you know what? It adds to the style of Virtua Cop 2. This wouldn't be nearly as good if it was realistic and if people acted in a way that wasn't stupid. Don't shoot! And they'd run right out in the middle of a machine gun fight. They're Virtua asking for it. And did you notice that the cars say VCPD? Tommy Vercetti would be proud. It's such a terrible blow to your pride when you lose a game, not because you've been shot by bad guys, but because this idiot jumped out in front of you. It's his fault. Virtua Cop 2 is way harder than Virtua Cop 1. This scene in particular just kept beating me every time I played this game. But that's okay, I have credits to continue and keep playing. It's all about fun here with Virtua Cop 2. You can also play this with a friend on your Sega Saturn. As I understand it, Virtua Cop 3 came out many years after this one and is not available on the Sega Saturn. I don't think it came out on other home consoles either. I like this chase scene. Not only is it challenging because you're moving around a lot, it's hard to shoot these guys hanging out of cars and on bikes, but also it reminds me of RoboCop. I keep expecting Clarence to be in one of those vans and throw a guy out of the back of the van onto the hood of my car. They need to add more splattering, crunching, and screaming noises when you run over people. Isn't this game awesome? Like, how can you not watch this and immediately want to run out and find Virtua Cop 2? You're only fooling yourself if you think you don't want to play this game. Because I assure you, you do want to play this game. Just make sure that when you get your Sega Saturn, Virtua Cop 1 and 2 with the Sega Saturn Stunner, that you have a television that you can use this game on. A lot of newer TVs don't like light gun games, sadly. Now the Wii has a workaround with that so we can still get some Sega shooters like House of the Dead Overkill, which was really nice. But Virtua Cop 2 is about 100 times harder than that game. For one thing, there's nothing on screen telling you where you're pointing your gun. You actually have to shoot things by aiming at them. Now you can make most of the newer games on the Wii do that, where if you're playing a shooting game and you don't want to see what you're aiming at with a pointer on screen, you can remove that, but that's the standard default here with Virtua Cop 2. For one thing, a light gun doesn't work like the Wii controller anyway, so you really have to aim at something when you want to hit it. Which is very difficult when there's a lot of things popping out on screen all over the place. The game helps you out a little bit by flying in those green circles over the bad guys, showing you where they're going to be. And Virtua Cop 1 did that as well. But at times these guys are hiding behind things and you have to get headshots. Other times they're moving all over the place, rolling on the ground, and there's 2 or 3 of them behind each other that you can't even see, or they're intermingling with civilians who you are penalized wrongly for shooting. Now I'm going to enter my name. Most of you think I'm named Mark. Actually, my legal name is Simon Epsilon Xylophone. It changed my name to Cop? That's discrimination. I'm calling the Virtua Cops.
Klutz Cop.